Hello and welcome to your mini session on using the Statewide Daily Activity Tracker, one of the tools you'll be using within our project to be able to track your outreach and the work that you do on a daily basis. As we've spoken about before, documentation is an essential task as a community health worker. This is one of the ways you'll be documenting your outreach. Now, we will be looking at the survey tool that we will use for documenting it. But we ask that you do not practice or submit any tests when it comes to using the live form. The survey is live. That is the actual survey that you will be using. However, please do not use it to play with it or test anything out. Only use it when you are ready to submit some outreach that you have completed. So the beginning of this survey just starts off with just kind of a little disclaimer that the survey is for you, the community health worker, to fill out when you interact with members of the community to encourage them to get vaccinated for COVID-19, and also times when you're interacting with community members as part of your routine outreach work. You will note along this different forms that we have that this one is specifically again for outreach. And if you are at an event with a client and trying to document their vaccine, that is a completely different form. Do not use this one. So please answer these questions as best you can. Some of them may require you to just use your best judgment, but please try to answer all the questions to the best of your ability. So from this, it goes into the first part that you kind of fill in. This asks you to provide the unique identifier assigned to you as a community health and outreach worker. This will be a certain format. It is rather long, so please take the time to be able to identify within your organization what your number is and being able to have great recall of it, since you will be entering it in every time that you submit this form. From there, it asks how many community members are attending or receiving the specific intervention that you're reporting here. In this case, we're just talking about the outreach. This can be hard to guess, but use your best judgment in determining the number of people that you talk to throughout the course of your day. Some important information that we will always like to look at is our location. So location is a very important metric. Be as specific and detailed as possible. So start by listing off the zip code where your outreach is occurring. Now, in areas where the area is rather large and there are several zip codes that may be involved, it could be, for example, if you're completing something via social media where it might cover the entire state, there is a specific option for that. However, if you are kind of visiting businesses within a city and that city has several zip codes, just specify one and use an outreach form for if you're doing the same type of research, even if it is across several zip codes. There is an area where you can enter in like the city and the state and additional information. So you will be able to kind of fill that in within the information about your outreach. If you are doing different types of outreach, for example, one might be pantry-based, specific to planning a vaccine event as opposed to just general information about vaccines. Those are two different types of outreach and therefore will require two different forms even if they were completed in the same area. We are asking when it comes to documentation that it is important to complete it at the end of the business day. There is an area that you can auto-populate for the button to press today, and when that happens, of course, it fills in. Just be very mindful that the outreach form is meant to document the day that you're completing outreach. For some reason, you're completing it after the fact, you're doing it the next morning. Please make sure you're setting the day of the outreach and not the day you're completing the form. The next area we go into is what type of location is this outreach occurring in. The list is quite extensive and you're able to select more than one option, and there will be a space for you to write in any additional sites if you have the ability, if you need or require that ability to do so. From there, we kind of ask the questions of, is this the first time that this community or group of community members has been contacted for this specific type of initiative? Is this outreach occurring in English? And here you can select yes, and if you are doing it in English as well as a different language, you will be able to select both options and then be able to enter in what other additional language you have been able to complete your outreach in. After that, we look at what methods were used for completing the outreach. Again, the list is very extensive and you are able to select more than one option with the ability to write in any additional methods that in case any of these were not able to capture what type of outreach you completed. Then is it possible to determine how many community members, after receiving this outreach on this day, have agreed to get the COVID vaccine as a result of your efforts? Does someone agree that they would seek out vaccination based on your efforts? Again, use your best judgment in order to be able to provide this count. It's important to try to keep track for yourself throughout the day in your interactions, just to be able to provide a more accurate tally at the end of the day. Our next two main questions are related to demographics and composition of your outreach audience. Things like the characteristics to describe your community members, as well if they are belonging to a specific population of community members. Both of these lists are very extensive, and you are able to select more than one area. We do ask that you try to select all of the ones that kind of describe the characteristics of your intervention that day, and use your best judgment and understanding of the audience with which you spoke with. It also asks if you have met the target audience in which it was intended. Again, this list is very extensive for both of these questions that detail out the community member groupings. And you'll be able to select multiple as well as enter in any that in case any of these do not apply. Thank you for joining me for this mini session, and good luck in completing your outreach.